Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jaya Guru Raya.
Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki jai. Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumar Arpanamastu. Our grateful pranams at the lotus feet of Bhagwan for this huge grace of his Nama Sankirtan at this worshipful hours of the evening, twilight. Yesterday we saw what an auspicious time it is and how fitting for worship. We also saw how the tongue should be put to use, proper, holy use. Now, I remember a particular teaching of Bhagwan. Bhagwan has said, the higher the interpretation that you put upon any happening, the closer you are to God. And reversely, the closer you are to God, the higher would be your interpretation upon any happening. So, from the way people speak, we can understand how much they have grown spiritually. Most of the people have thoughts, their thinking would be below the hip. Only a small percentage of people will have thinking about the hip. Meaning, their understanding of any happening and their very nature. It is always how we understand, how we take a certain happening that matters, that forms our attitude. So, the lower the nature of man, and lower the understanding of his intellect, intelligence, then the more distanced he is from God. So, let us learn to give only a high interpretation to any happening around. They are mutually dependent. Our kinship with God and the attitude to life. When we reach the highest state, we begin to see only Bhagwan's grace in everything. Bhagwan, if he got any sumptuous food for one day, he would celebrate and say, oh, it is my Father's grace. And if he didn't get anything at all to eat for 3 days, he would still celebrate it as grace. He would say everything that happens is only grace. And so, until we reach that state. We have to keep trying. People who say, this one is bad, that one is bad, all the time criticizing people, and in their criticism, they consider themselves above all. That would only go into their account as bad karma, and one day they would have to pay for it. A man who keeps using his speech power only for criticizing people, only for using bad words, only for abuse, he would lose his power of speech in the next birth. So whatever gift God has given us, we should learn to put it to proper use. Otherwise, life would be a waste. If your words are like flowers, then one day it would come back to you as a mala around your neck. If you throw words like you would throw stones at people, at one point in life, either in this birth or in the next birth, you will get stoned too by others. If your words come like fire, please know that this fire is going to burn you one day. So remember, at least try to put a good interpretation upon every happening, knowing that it is God who is behind it. Many, many times things work against us. People work against us, and they won't even admit it, and they would put the blame on us. But still, if we assume, because it's the truth, that God is behind it, and it's also God's gift, then we would be amply rewarded by a closer kinship with God. So, let us remember this teaching of Bhagwan and learn to put only a high interpretation upon any happening. The highest interpretation is it's God's will and it's a blessing. So today, in whatever state of adversity that we find ourselves, we would know that we are paying back for something, for some collective karma. All that we can do at this moment is only beg for grace. Only grace can mitigate the cruelty of the situation. So let's pray, beg and beg Bhagwan for his immediate, kind, divine intervention to release the entire humanity from the dreadful grip of these virulent viruses and bring back a dharmic normalcy in all aspects of life. It will take time, but then we have to go on begging. We are trying at least, and trying is tapas, as Bhagwan said. Let's beg Bhagwan, Yogi Ramsuratkumar again and again, 1,000,000 times, to uproot all the negativities of the heart, all the dirt of the mind, the dirt, like panic, jealousy, cruel thoughts, criticism, all the time abusing nature. All because we get angry, and anger is poison to our own system. And Bhagwan, we beg you again to arrest the rapid increase, rapid spread of the disease. Enter those medicines so that it could kill these viruses once for all. And Bhagwan, please give protection to all those great people who have been working selflessly, slogging all through the day for 1.5 years, unmindful of their own discomfort. At the very risk of their lives, they are saving other lives. Please give a boost to our economy. And now we seek your blessings for constant remembrance of your name. That is the purpose of the tongue. That is the purpose of the mouth. Not only to sustain the life in the body, but also to speak the truth. And the highest truth is God's name. God's name is God Himself, and God is the only truth and the ultimate truth. We beg you, Bhagwan, to give us the right attitude. And what is this right attitude? To be able instruments in your hands, doing your work, running our everyday life as an offering to you. And finally, that final grace, that ultimate grace for complete purification, so that we would begin to see only God's grace in everything, only God's presence everywhere, and only God's leelas in all happenings of life. We beg you again and again, every day, for that eternal living. Jai Yogi Ramsuratkumar.